we present Mrs. Jiggles, The Early Years. Episode 4. Mrs. Jiggles does all the trimmings.
I don't understand, Mrs. Jiggles.
Oh, I'm not surprised, Mary. It's getting very complicated. Mrs. Ganglin had been stealing silver and stashing it under her floorboards until it fell on her and she got trapped in her own hole.
Fancy.
Then, of course, the inevitable happened.
The weight of the silver and Mrs. Ganglin proved too much for the timbers, and she fell through 5 floors into the sitting room.
Yes, it's obvious when you think about it, but she hadn't. It was her spoons what done it. Oh, they were nice spoons, Mary. You could see your face in them. You could see anyone's face in them if they pointed the right way. That's how spoons should be.
So what happened next, Mrs. Jiggles?
Well?
Explain yourself, Mrs. Ganglion.
I was tidying. What does she say, Glump?
She says she was tidying, your ladyship.
Well, it don't look very tidy now.
What's that Jiggles girl doing here? I'm not alone. She must be behind the whole thing. It is a dilemma. I cannot criticise someone for tidying, but neither can I ignore the fact that all my silver was stolen.
Not stolen, your ladyship. Just hidden under my floorboards.
That's true.
At this point I explained about my jelly and custard recipe, and that, thanks to Mrs. Goat's recipe book, which I didn't tell them about, I could do a much better job as cook for Mrs. Ganglin, who'd forgotten half my custard recipe and was throwing away the lumps. Oh, them lumps is the best part.
Might I suggest, your ladyship, a contest between the two? Whoever makes the finest dinner tonight stays, and the one who doesn't...
I held my breath, wondering what he might say.
Doesn't.
Oh!
Ganglion?
I accept, your ladyship. Jiggles? I've forgotten the question.
Can you cook a better dinner tonight than Mrs. Ganglion?
Oh, yes, I wouldn't want to cook Mrs. Ganglion. How about a nice cod? Roast beef with all the trimmings.
Lovely.
You're going to have to do better than cod, Jiggles.
I racked my brains to recall the best recipe in my book. Royal pudding pie, with even more trimmings.
Royal pudding pie? What is that?
Oh, it's a secret recipe, your ladyship. I'll stake my reputation on it.
Very well. You have 5 hours. Cook.
Now, this is where I ran into trouble. Mrs. Ganglin had no difficulty getting her ingredients together. She found all she needed at a restaurant down the road where her cousin's sister's brother worked. In fact, she seemed to have cooked it on the way home.
It's all done, Jiggles. Oh, wore me out it did, but I'm a professional, so I don't complain about hard work.
I ignored her and got my head down, but I had to get it up again because I couldn't see nothing. My problem was the recipe book had half a page missing. Oh, I knew how to do the trimmings, I knew how to make the pastry, but what went in the pie, what we call filling, wasn't in the recipe at all. Oh, I had to think fast.
And did you, Mrs. Jiggles?
No, I was still thinking 4 hours later.
Not long now, ladies.
I'm all ready, Mr. Glump.
It smells delicious, I must admit. I can't smell anything from you, Jiggles.
Oh, you'll smell me soon, sir, all in good time.
57 minutes is all the good time you have.
Oh, I don't mind telling you, Mary. I was all of a jiggle.
What on earth did you do?
The only thing I could. I shoved all my trimmings in the pie and sealed the lid. Oh, I didn't have an hope it would taste as good as Mrs. Ganglion's roast beef, but what could I do? Now, I'll tell you not a word of a lie, Mary, but you'll never guess what happened when her madamship came to taste the 2 meals.
She thought yours was wonderful and you got the job?
No, mine made her physically sick and I was thrown out.
Ah, Mrs. Jiggles, how unfair. What happened then?
Well, I took what was left of my pie, and I was going to try and send it down the market, when there was a hue and cry. Hue, cry, hue, cry.
My baby, my baby!
What on earth's happened, Mr. Glump?
Master Henry has disappeared.
Without a word of a lie, Mary, you'll never guess what happened next.
You found Master Henry inside your pie?
Please, Mary, don't start being ridiculous.
Sorry, Mrs. Jiggles.
He was up the chimney.
How did he get there?
I don't know.
I'm hungry.
Oh, look here, Master Henry. There's a nice bit of pie up that chimney.
It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. I'm stuck.
Oh, dear. That is a pity. Anyway, everybody was looking for him, until at last,
whosoever findeth my beloved son Henry shall be granted any boon they wish.
He's up the chimney. I think.
Pull! Pull! Oh!
Hungry!
Quick as a flash, I scooped all Mrs. Ganglion's meal into what was left of my pie, and Master Henry ate it all before anyone was any the wiser. He was as happy as a sandboy.
Where's my dinner gone, Jiggles?
But it was too late. Having found Master Henry and fed him a delicious meal, her ladyship declared that the post of cook was mine.
I declare that the post of cook is yours.
Oh, thank you, Madam Ma'am. And so I was back where I belong, head cook in a big kitchen. Oh, then two things happened.
What were they, Mrs. Jiggles?
Firstly, and this took us all by surprise, it was 1830 all of a sudden.
Oh, whatever did you do?
Oh, we just had to get on with it in them days. Then secondly, the second thing happened.
What, Mrs. Jiggles?
I opened the scullery door to see if we had a cat.
Meow.
We didn't, but who should I see?
Mr. Wobble, come to the custard recipe Mrs. Gout couldn't remember to go with his jelly.
Yes, it was.
Esmeralda, I made a terrible mistake. I'm a free man again now. Marry me. Become the third Mrs. Wobble.
And did you, Mrs. Jiggles?
Well, Mary, I'll tell you this. I was in something of a dilemma. Should I accept again Mr. Wobble's proposal of marriage? Or should I accept the other proposal I'd had that morning?
Other proposal, Mrs. Jiggles?
Didn't I mention that?
No. Who from?
Well, Mary, I'll tell you. It was Mr. Glump.
Oh, whatever did you do?
Well, Mary, I'll tell you.
Please note, chimneys should only be climbed by professional sweeps.